On today's Minute of the Apes.
I don't know, ma'am. All I know is they've killed the orderly, and I've been given orders to find them, because it's MotA.
Take your stinking paws off me, you damn dirty ape! Exercise with an ape make a human down. It talks. We are the keepers of the divine bound. It is our only reason for survival. We are determined to know what the apes want, war or peace. The only good human is a dead human!
Hello and welcome to Minute of the Apes, a daily podcast where we break down every minute of the Planet of the Apes, and we start doing radio shows with. Is that accent shaming though?
Accent shaming? How am I shaming?
My child, everything I ever do is that something shaming? I'm like, okay, you can't just encapsulate everything into shaming.
That's like saying anybody who does an impression is shaming somebody.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I'm triggered.
All right, it's Monday. Do we have anything up front that we need to do? How was the weekend?
It was cold. It was hot. It was Halloween-y.
Oh, I played a gig outside.
Yeah.
For 3 hours. That was fine the first 2 hours, and I was actually sweating while I'm playing. We take a break, and I come back on stage. Oh, my God, the cold front hadn't moved through. And if you pick up a guitar and play it in the cold, it feels like razor blades are slicing in your fingers.
Oh, wow. Was this Friday or Saturday night?
Friday night.
Wow.
And, of course, what was funny is that my hometown was playing their hometown's football team, and ours is this...
Who was there?
I'm not going to name it.
Oh, yeah.
Ours is a perennial, like, state champion and whatnot, and that's just the way, if you ever follow high school football, it goes. Somebody will be that way.
Texas,
Somebody will be that champion for 20 years. They'll have this because the kids that are good move into the town so they can get discovered by colleges.
There, yeah.
Then all of a sudden another one will come up and it'll start shifting there. Well, these kids came up to me that were there and they didn't know I was from this town. We're going to murder that team tonight. They all came back from the game to work at third quarter. It was 35-0, our team. And it was, so I had to bite my tongue of, hey, we're kicking your ass. You always have to, when you're hired as a band.
Boomer.
Thank God I'm not a baby boomer.
In-between.
Anyway, Sean, tell us what's going on with today's minute.
All right, we start minute 71 with the president saying that in a democracy, we don't shoot unarmed suspects on sight, and ends with Dr. Branton saying she can't believe it.
All right, let's take a listen to minute 71 of Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
In a democracy, we do not shoot unarmed suspects on sight for a murder in which their participation is still legally unproven. Now, I want them taken, yes, but taken alive. Is that clear?
Quite clear, Mr. President.
Oh, it's you, Dr. Branton. You better be careful, ma'am. There's been a murder.
Murder?
Yes, ma'am. The monkeys have killed their orderly and escaped.
What? I don't believe it.
As of minute 71, we have a planet's worth of humans plus 2 living apes, 1 who's pregnant, and 1 dead ape.
All right, I got to ask right away, the first line of dialogue. Richard, read us what the president says right away in this scene.
He says, but in a democracy, we do not shoot unarmed suspects on sight for murder in which their participation is still legally unproven. I want them taken, but I want them taken alive. Is that clear?
I'm really curious.
A lot's changed since then.
That's what I do. Is like, is that true today?
We shoot on sight now.
You start thinking about the police violence.
Later, yeah.
If this film were made today, the president would instead say, we have too much of this with police officers shooting
on
unarmed
sight
suspects,
without knowing what's going on. Yeah.
That would be the conversation today. It would not be this pie-in-the-sky view of democracy. As though you vote on it. Hey, we got to take a public vote before we kill them.
Well, okay, but let's think about it in the context of this moment. This moment, we've already got the president who is somewhat of an advocate because it's good for publicity to the apes to be
4
good.
to 8 years,
exactly.
Yeah.
He wants to continue getting elected. And he knows what's smart, what's wise. He also goes that little shade at Haslund a bit earlier, this line before, when he goes, I can think of no one more emotionally qualified than yourself to persuade them of such a possibility. Right. He's basically trying to lay down the law for Haslund because he needs something out of it. He doesn't give two shits about Haslund. He wants Haslund to just basically embarrass himself in front of the country, but this is not the moment for Haslund to do it. It looks bad on the president. The president can't throw Haslund under the bus.
I totally agree with you. His motivations of all the characters in this film perhaps are the clearest. He is written perfectly as a politician that understands both the public nature as well as the actual
political
institutional
nature,
political nature. I just found it almost shocking to start a minute on that statement when I thought, oh my goodness, you want to talk about
relevant to the time?
Yeah, the social ideas of how that would just slightly tweak were it said today.
Well, but I mean, we should on some level, you cannot legally prove a murder until you have
You're
it in
absolutely
court,
right.
in a court of law. And I would still say that 90% of Americans would have believed that that's
Agreed.
what you want to do. You wouldn't go out and immediately, well, actually, you know what? Sorry, I was thinking, it took me to Watchmen for the lynching scene, the Tulsa massacre.
Right.
But you still want this. Now, when we think about this in the context of what Dane is doing, he needs an authority above to allow this movie just to not go right dark off the deep end. And right now that authority is the president. He's
Right.
the only one tempered. Otherwise, Haslund can just run unchecked. That's what he needs the president for. Nobody else has that power.
Absolutely.
Dixon doesn't have that power.
And
Brandon doesn't have that power.
Anytime you ever create characters with a screenplay, especially a book, you can meander more. You can go to thoughts. You can do things like that. But in a screenplay, you need diametrically opposed characters that can converse towards the middle of the point. And he's beautifully done. Whereas again, we've got Haslund over here who just wants to exterminate them.
Have we ever had anything that officially says that Haslund is in charge of this whole project? Why are we assuming that he's the boss and not
Right.
Branton
We have
or
no
Dixon or
You're right. I mean, there's nothing that has said that he's just some wacky scientist that's inserted himself in the president's council. We don't know where he's come
where
from.
he stands in the position of power in this whole council or what they're doing with the
Is he
apes.
a cabinet member? Is he something?
He just seems like a guy that's got the murder boner for apes. It's like
the murder boner.
That's all he wants to do.
That's so terrible.
Well, hello, name of the episode.
Yeah.
I'm a little surprised that we don't have the president enacting some kind of clampdown on Haslund, like official, like this escalating beyond that. We all know how bad you want to do it. Haslund pushing even further. And he said, something like, do I need to put enforcement around you, some kind of armed guard to where you can't do this?
Yeah.
Because the president is adamant this isn't going to happen, but he doesn't take extra authoritative step to make it not happen.
Yeah, he just says, don't do it, and there's nothing to stop him from doing it.
Right.
For all of Haslund's inability to convey good scientific concepts for us to follow the logic of why the apes need to be destroyed, because he doesn't. He throws all these sci-fi concepts out there to try and justify what his means to his end, but there's nothing on them that sells them to me.
Right.
The president, however, is the one argument that Dane seems to be getting right in terms of putting forward some type of stop to what's going on or being a rational voice for this movie. So I don't know. It's almost like the president is Dane's voice and Haslund is, I need to make this movie work.
Yeah, the voice of dissent, but he just doesn't ever mature it enough. And I do think, again, if you talk about where this movie made today, I think and I'm not saying this is a condemnation of our current president. I think more the conventions of what filmmaking would be today. I think the president would be the one that's more afraid of he would not
getting out about the apes being
right, and that hurting his image.
Threat to the future. Yeah,
he wouldn't be quite so noble of the intent that we got to treat everybody peacefully. I think that might be somebody else having that conversation.
But then you'd have to insert somebody else in there with some power to pull the president back.
But I think that you might have a military force or something like that.
So Haslund is the advocate, but he's being manipulated by the president.
Yeah.
So he's tempered. He's on the president's side, but he's having to give Dixon the benefit of the doubt. Like the president should be the villain, and Haslund would be kind of the metered response to what needs to be done versus what's best for Dixon. I mean,
so what you do is you have the president talking to Hassline on it while he also has somebody else coming up to him, whispering something and giving some papers, and then the papers turn out to be an alternate plan that the president also has been studying to take care of the apes in case there's a problem. But he's not telling Hassline about that because he wants to go with the want the happy ending of the apes are not going to be killed.
But they're really cooking instructions because he's really excited about dinner. He just wants to make
man.
I was about to say, I laughed because while Sean was detailing that plan, Richard had the look of, what the are you talking about?
Did you just draw me a chart, man? It was like, where did that come from?
So to jump back to Richard's point 2 seconds ago, I'm watching, Abby has discovered a Italian show called Baby. And what was a revelation for me is for all of her 16 years.
It's not baby.
No, it's not the baby. and oddly, every once in a while they speak in English, and I keep thinking, why are they doing that? But anyway, I digress. I bring that up because for 16 years I've tried to show Abby, you don't have to ask me every 5 seconds what's happening. Watch the movie, and if it's a good movie, it's going to explain or it's going to leave them unanswered, and that's the point. This Italian show has finally taught her that. And what it also taught her last night was she said, have you noticed in those scenes when it's teenage kids, kind of like a really heavy teenage drama. Mm-hmm. She said, have you noticed those 3 kids all take a different position and they're talking around each other? I think to what you're saying, if this were done today and you had somebody that was, Hassline was a middleman feeding something and you had that, it makes that conversation even more complex when we have 3 points, and it almost creates the confusion of the viewer, but at the same time it creates that truth in the middle and it makes it that deeper conversation. And I long for that. We have lamented Hassline's, lack of definition as a character. I wish that we understood his motivations because I think that would at least give this more clarity. Not that it doesn't work. It just lacks that. Especially, is this the moment when Hassline hangs up on the president?
Yeah.
He goes, quite clear, Mr. President, puts the phone down.
To which I wanted Hassline to sit it down, then just go, and then just throw the phone against the wall.
Well, there was a little more to this scene, but let's go on this point right now.
So the point being, and it's very simple to that, I don't know that you can hang up on the president of the United States. I think the president hangs up on you.
Yeah.
I just found that even
it
that,
did, yeah.
It's like, wow, that's kind of abrupt. And at that point, if I'm the president, I'm like, okay, he's a bitch. Do something.
We assumed there was an informal goodbye, that the president was saying goodbye as he was hanging up. With quite clear, Mr. President, he puts the phone down. But I mean, that's what I read. That was the conversation was over already. But You're right. When you're just looking at that moment, like it does look like he's just like bye.
Yeah. Well, they just did the film shortcut of never having anybody say goodbye. The wrap up that everybody does on the phone. Hey, I'll talk to you later. I'll talk to you later too. All right, have a good one. You too. Okay, bye. They just cut all that they always do in movies.
I think that even changing what he said, and you can make it where it's almost a condescending thing if he would say, "Thank you, Mr. President," instead of under what is the word?
Quite clear, Mr.
Quite
President.
Clear. That's me being a bitch and going, F you. Thank you, Mr. President. Is that self-serving kind of thing, and then he hangs up. It wouldn't have felt as abrupt to me, but it just feels wrong.
So this was to me that the shot itself was a little odd because we're getting this angle from kind of the corner of Hassline's desk. Hang on, let me get there. So Hassline is kind of relaxed in his chair behind a desk. You've got his desk lamp in view. You've got the phone in view. You've got office supplies in view. And it's an odd shot. It's shot from the screen right corner. And you get to see his entire desk. And I'm not sure why that wasn't shot just a little bit tighter.
I agree with you. And what I just noticed too is that It obeys.
I don't need to see his office supplies.
The rule of thirds?
Well, it obeys the rule of thirds and the rule of film conversation where the president is facing
left.
Yes, and then Hassline's
screen right.
Even in a phone conversation, they've kept true to that. But I agree with you. I think it would have conveyed more tension had it had
been a little bit tighter.
You see, he has like a desk lamp, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got you see his desk lamp, you see the cord, you see the printer that he's got over here.
If that desk lamp had been the side of the frame. That would have conveyed.
It's another,
If that desk lamp had been the side of the frame, that would have conveyed tension that he's in something
Cutting
like
it
that.
off,
But
yeah.
it is rather wide.
Particularly because the president is shot sitting in a chair, kind of close to him while he's talking. You don't even see the phone anymore. You see the base of the phone. You see the phone cord. But with Hassline, we're getting the phone, the desk. He's relaxed. He's probably got man spread happening under that table.
Most likely.
You're assuming he's wearing pants.
In fact, gross.
But then he leans up. He leans up specifically to say, "Quite clear, Mr. President," and put the phone down. Now, do you want me to mention what happened after this?
Please
moment?
do.
So after this moment, Hassline says, "Quite clear, Mr. President," and then, according to the script, there is a captain that's also in the room, and Hassline says to the captain, "When you find them, they're to be taken alive. And Captain, I'm putting every law enforcement